Welcome to The Jump. It's Rachel Nichols. We will not have anything flying at these guys' heads so far.
You don't know that.
Who could say? The night is young. Israel Gutierrez back in the house. Welcome.
Thank
and,
you.
of course, six-time champ, Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen. Always a treat. Little Florida. It's like we're doing the show in Miami today.
Right.
Just like that. All right, leading up to last night's Cavaliers-Celtics game, which likely will have determined the number one seed in the East, LeBron James absolutely, unequivocally told everyone he thought it was no big deal. Well, kids, apparently it's time to break out that LeBron to English dictionary, because we saw at the Garden last night when LeBron says it's not really a big game, what he actually means is it's a really big game in which he's going to defend like a madman, drop 36, and play the second quarter as if he'd gotten drunk with the game's 2K controls. And look, we've certainly had to break out the LeBron dictionary before. Like when he says, quote, "I'm just humbled and blessed to have great teammates." What that actually means is, yeah, I know I just set another record, whatever, but talk to me when I pass Kareem. Or sometimes with LeBron, you'll get, "We don't know who's in and out of the lineup," which means, "I'm really tired of all these guys having ticky-tack injuries. Did I mention I'm pretty much Luke Cage out there and physically invincible?" Or one of my favorites, which is the straight quote, "I don't remember," which means, no, I really didn't like David Blatt, but I don't want to talk about it. Now, what we actually need a LeBron dictionary for is the way he describes his minutes this season, because they keep piling up, and he will always tell you that he is fine, and clearly, at times, he is not. We keep the LeBron mileage meter here at The Jump. You can check where we're at right now. He played 39 minutes last night. That is still second overall in minutes per game in the NBA. Over the past 3 games alone, LeBron's been averaging 42 minutes a game, and he didn't sit in the fourth last night until about 4 minutes to go, despite that the Cavs never led by less than 20. Now, the Cavaliers have given up a bunch of fourth-quarter leads this season, so clearly both LeBron and Coach Tyronn Lue felt they needed him there to ensure that this statement game that really wasn't a big deal, but apparently was, didn't slip away. We'll have to see if that comes back to burn him in the playoffs. We just don't know right now. But what we do know is that when LeBron James is locked into a game, he can still control it like few players have ever been able to. And that, you probably won't know a performance like that is coming until it is too late. Now, there were a lot of interesting angles to unpack in that game last night, Scotty, but I want to know who you learned more about last night, the Celtics or the Cavaliers?
I think I learned more about the Celtics. I think last night they showed me that they're not quite ready to contend for an Eastern Conference championship. LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers were head and shoulders past them last night, never allowed them to get in the game, really made the Cavs look like they were playing a role game. In fact, that they didn't even come out and compete on their own home court tells me one thing: they're not ready to win the East.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you think before that game that Boston was ready to win the East and they were going to beat Cleveland?
I had my doubts. I've never seen them play in a head-to-head matchup.
Okay.
But I think last night really told me a lot about where the Celtics are in terms of matching up with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I think a lot of people probably went into that game saying to themselves, yeah, it's still going to be Cleveland, it's still going to be Cleveland, because they've given us so many reasons over the last 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks or so, to doubt them. Terrible defense, guys in and out of the lineup. They're finally getting Kyle Korver back, but now they're missing Tristan Thompson for a while. And I think I learned more about the Cavs because of that, because we've had so many reasons, or so much evidence that they're going in this direction. And yet last night, when LeBron can do that and other guys can follow him, they can still be dominant. They can still go into Boston, which is a very difficult place to win. The thing that I learned about the Celtics that bugged me was going into the game. It really bothered me when Isaiah Thomas says, "Oh, it's just another game." It's not for you.
No.
It's not for those guys.
Right.
It is for LeBron. They've been there before. They've done that. But you got them coming into your house, and you're saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal." No, it is. And you can tell by the way they lost that game that they weren't in it nearly as much as Cleveland.
Well, I didn't think that they raised the bar. Last night was one of those games where you had to raise the bar. You had to show the Cleveland Cavaliers that they cannot come in and dominate you on your home court, and they allowed them to do it.
I mean, they were positioned to take the top seed in the East for all intents and purposes and show that they're not just a regular season team. And yet that performance that they laid out there last night didn't leave just you with questions, Scottie Pippen. There was an interesting quote from Avery Bradley in the locker room last night post-game. He was talking about LeBron. He said, quote, "He saw something we couldn't figure out. That's why he's LeBron James. He saw that we wanted to get Isaiah and pick and roll, and then he went on to expose our defense. As a team, you have to cover each other, you have to talk, you have to have each other's backs, and we didn't do that tonight. Scotty, I want you to take a look at some of these plays. What do you think makes LeBron so effective when he does this kind of stuff?
LeBron causes matchup problems. First of all, there's no one on the court that can guard him. But when he see opportunities to put a guy in a pick and roll situation, put a guy in front of him who he know cannot stay in front of him, he takes advantage of it. We saw him do this last year in the playoff against Steph Curry. We saw him do it the year before, trying to put him in a position where he have to defend. And last night, LeBron took advantage of the Celtics in all shapes.
If you look at some of that help that didn't arrive, it wasn't necessarily Boston's best defenders. We're talking about Gerald Green not moving over from the corner. We're talking about other guys. That wasn't a great display of defense for Boston, especially those clips right there. That lane was wide open.
That's LeBron, though, right? He knows who to pick on. He always knows who to pick on.
That's LeBron's IQ. He knows how to get people in a bad situation, and he's going to make the right play.
He will force you to create the worst matchup for you defensively, which we saw last night. I want to move on to the Lakers, who apparently are just trying to make their fans cry at this point, because last night the team beat the Spurs, giving them back-to-back wins for the first time since January. And normally, if this were a normal team, that would be a good thing. But this is not a normal team, my friends. This is a team trying to keep its first-round pick, which is only top 3 protected. Otherwise, it goes away. Entering Sunday, LA had a 54% chance to secure a top 3 pick. Now, that is less than a 50-50 shot. Now, Izzy, I got to tell you, Luke Walton did try. D'Angelo Russell helped them beat Memphis the other day, so he benched him for last night. And then I was watching this. During the game, he pulled Brandon Ingram. Ingram was just getting too hot. So he pulled him, and they sort of issued this weird injury report that they were pulling him for precautionary injury reasons, which means getting too hot. I mean, what does Luke Walton have to do here?
What can he really do? I mean, you're a competitor. You're out there. You want to win that game. The Spurs don't have anything to play for either. They're locked into the 2 seed, and they're not playing all their guys. Kawhi and LaMarcus didn't play in the second half, and so it's like, what do you want them to do? I don't like when people mock them. I remember Pat Riley back in 03, the season before he got Dwayne Wade in the draft. Well, they had a game in Toronto that they could have absolutely tanked last game of the season. They didn't. He was prideful. They won that game, dropped the spot, ended up with the 5 pick, and got Dwayne Wade as opposed to Chris Bosh or Chris Kaman, which they would have gotten if they were higher. Well,
I think players play the game the right way. You don't see players tanking games. They're going to go out. They're going to compete. They're going to be competitive. They want to score. They want to see their stats after the game. So they're not going to tank games. And the Lakers still got guys on the floor that are very competitive. And you saw it last night when they went in and beat the Spurs.
That top 3 thing is scary, though, because you go from, if you're in the 2 spot, you go from a 54% chance of being in the top 3 to now as a 3 spot, you're less than half. It's 48.7%. So if they drop out of that top 3, there goes that pick.
Right, and this is a good draft at the top. Yeah. We will have Lonzo Ball on the show later. I mean, you're talking about a huge swing in fortunes. It also affects a second-round pick that they have. I mean, they're tanking and tanking. They can't even do tanking right. I want to go across the country to New York, where a Knicks season ticket holder saw owner James Dolan outside of Madison Square Garden before the game, told him, sell the team, which, I mean, the man has got to have heard before. Right. Dolan yelled back at the fan, and he admitted to calling him a name. Here is what Dolan told Deadspin. I called him a a-hole because he is an a-hole. I get it. They call me names every day in the paper, but when you're walking up to the place where I work, it's like they're laying in wait for you. We need to teach him some grammar, too, but I'm not going to get into that. It's like stalking me outside my home. It's lying in wait. And here's the fan, Michael Hemersky's side. He told his story to Outside the Lines. Take a listen.
Mr. Dolan was walking out, presumably from the Garden, to a waiting limousine, and I, was shocked to see the owner, and almost reflexively shouted, I'll admit that, sell the team, Jim. Just like that. I immediately took responsibility for the words, and he got in my face rather aggressively, started cursing at me, accused me of cursing at him when I explained that I actually hadn't said that. He just sort of escalated the situation where it didn't need to go.
Wow.
Bad look, right, Scotty?
That's pretty bad.
For James Dolan, not that
bad. No, not at all. I mean, I think for Dolan, that's one of those situations where you have to look past, and you cannot turn and respond to a fan. As players, you get that all the time, fans saying negative things about you. And for Dolan, get in your limo and forget about it. If he wanted to get out and say anything, he should ask the guy, can you afford it?
There you go.
Listen,
See? Much better.
sell the team is about the nicest thing somebody can say to James Dolan right now. Like he's giving him financial advice is what he's doing. It's like, here, take a couple billion, go to some island that you probably can buy, because sell the team, I mean, it's nothing. And yet he got out of his limousine to go back, or wherever he was in, and to go back and talk to this gentleman. I mean, he's clearly had enough of it. It's clearly just been up to here with it, and he's
well, if he has
responding
enough,
like to
the
this.
fan had a suggestion for him. You saw the Charles Oakley video we threw up there because, of course, Jim Dolan had that incident. He later went on to suggest, with no basis, that Oak had been drinking, and apparently suggested the same thing about the fans. So he might want to get a new number there as well, because you can't just throw that out about people. We got to take a quick break. Welcome back to The Jump. We are now joined by Wooden Award finalist and now former UCLA point guard Lonzo Ball. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
We should mention the Wooden Award winner will be announced tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2, the College Basketball Awards presented by Wendy's. And Lonzo, what does it mean to you to be a finalist?
I'm very grateful. Just to have my name in the conversation, it means a lot to me. And whoever wins, just credit to them.
I said welcome to you. You don't really need a welcome to these studios because your dad certainly has been living here and you have been visiting and passing through from time to time. Your dad very vocal, of course, in support of you and your brothers, and it's been an even split because some people are like, he talks too much, and then I know you're big, this is fantastic, and
bring the attention.
Bring it. What do you think? First of all, what is it? Because you are actually pretty quiet.
Yeah, I'm pretty
kid.
quiet, humble. I don't like to be on the cameras like that. But he's been like that my whole life, so it's nothing new for me. I keep telling everybody that. They're like, how do you deal with it? I mean, it's nothing new. So he's always been like that, and if he was acting different, then I'd probably act a little bit more strange.
Do you ever worry he's writing checks you're going to have to then cash in the NBA?
Like I said, I'm 19 years old. I've been doing this for 19 years now, so no, it's nothing new.
Curious, like, when did you know you had, because it's one thing to be a great basketball player, it's another thing to have that basketball IQ and that court vision. Like you saw it from LeBron early on when he was 18 or probably 16 when you saw him in high school. When did you know you had that ability, or was it kind of taught to you?
Probably high school when I got it. Just playing point guard my whole life at such a fast pace, it forces you kind of to see plays before they happen. So, that's a lot of credit to my dad for making me do that. And, I definitely picked up when I got to high school.
When you look at the players in the NBA today, what player do you compare yourself with?
I get that question a lot, and I don't really have an answer for it. But I have favorite players. My personal favorite player is LeBron James. So, I mean, he does everything on the floor.
Do you think you play that way, or you can play that way?
I try to. You know how he gets points, assists, rebounds. He does what he can to help his team win. Another guy I like to watch is obviously Russell Westbrook, averaging a triple-double. Those two guys right there I try to focus on the most.
See, LeBron wants to be like you, though. Did you see the shot? He was what? He was imitating the shooting technique, right? Do we have the highlight? Right? He did the whole thing. They have on the screen mocking your shot, hashtag allegedly, because of course. Did you feel this was him just joking around, or did you feel?
I have no problem with it.
Right.
My favorite player is shooting like me. I'm a smile.
I was gonna say, flattery is the purest form.
Ball keeps going in, so.
I was gonna say. Exactly. Now you heard me. I don't know if you heard me mention in the previous segment here. The Lakers have this 2-game winning streak going. This is a problem, Lonzo, because they need to keep that top 3 pick as a franchise. They have said they have their eyes on you. How do you feel about this? Are you worried that the Lakers aren't losing enough?
I'm not worried. I mean, their job is to go out there and win basketball games, and that's what they're doing. So credit to them.
And your job is to distract them so they lose basketball games and draft you.
Exactly. Come on. Would it be nice for you to be able to stay in LA?
Most definitely. All my family's out here. It'll be a blessing to play in front of all of them. But at the same time, making it to the league was my dream from day one. So whatever team picks me up, I'll be happy.
I mean, do we have the picture of him in the Lakers jersey? There we go.
Hey.
See, that would be
pretty
so
good.
nice. It would look good.
And he got Jack behind me.
Right, exactly. I mean, if things don't go well for the Lakers in the lottery, this could happen. I mean, that could
Although
scare
Spike
anyone.
is pretty cool, though.
You have Spike behind you.
That's about the only thing over there right now. One of us here on the set is a 6-time NBA champion and a Hall of Famer.
No, it's that one.
Yeah. Did you think that's confusing at all?
I wouldn't think.
Were you worried that temporarily anybody might find? Do you have any advice, Mr. Pippen?
You know what? I like the fact that he's a very humble young man. And I would just say, keep believing in yourself. And once you get to this game, that's when the work begins. Right. Continue to work hard and make your mark in the game. and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Now, when Lonzo sat down, I did ask him what year he was born, and he said 97, which Scotty turned paler and shade. That being said, so you did not witness maybe the bulk of his playing career,
Yeah.
but what advice do you have to ask him, or what?
Video games keep me current.
Oh, there you go.
Right. Video games keep me current. Go ahead and answer the question.
That's right. What advice would you like to know from Scottie Pippen? If you could ask, here you go. This is your shot. You got a 6-time champ sitting next to you.
What was the hardest thing that you can remember when you first got to the league that you had to deal with?
Playing with Michael Jordan.
Understood.
It was hard, really because Michael was at such a high competitive level, and he didn't have a lot of belief in his teammates. So it was about earning his trust was one of the toughest things. But, it's part of wanting to win and being competitive in the game, and I don't see you have any problem with that.
That's a great question, though, because not everybody, Scotty, is going to get to go play with Michael Jordan.
right.
But you will play with teammates and older teammates and a coach who you will have to earn it from them, right? So there you go. We look forward to seeing you do that. We look forward to seeing you at the Wooden Awards.
If you have any questions for me down the road, just let me know.
I'll get to you.
If you want to know about anyone who 6 times has sat in this seat, he will be able to help you out with that. So thank you very much for joining us.
you for having me.
Appreciate it. We have much more still to come here on The Jump.